Okay, so in the last class we discussed about what is a software and what is a web application. Today we will have 1.5 hours of classes. Okay, I hope we will take half an hour more. So I'm going to log into the Linux machine which I have in my AWS account. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about a web application. We will take a sample web application, and I told you a web application can contain a lot of component, right? First of all, it is a set of program. Assume you are a retailer, there would be different program. One program for creating a shopping cart, another program that can add item to the shopping cart, another program that can validate the username and password the customers have entered. So like that, there are so many program your development team would write, and this program, as I said, depends on a number of dependencies. And apart from that, you need some images, style sheets, and HTML file which make your website look beautiful, right? All these things are included inside a web application, and also there are a lot of data that you want to store, mainly your business data, right? And this data is something that you want to use continuously. For example, a customer of yours, he tried to log into your website. So he opened your website and he entered the mail ID and password. Then when he click on the login button, you want to validate whether he entered the correct mail ID and password. What you have to do in this case is you will connect to a database, and this database contains the mail ID and password. You will compare the mail ID and password the customer have entered with the database, and if it is matching, then you get logged in, right? You allow your customer to log in. So like that, there are different program, and they want to communicate to the database whenever they need in order to get some data. You want to get the data, right? The programs which you execute when you browse for flipkart.com, for example, when you click on some button on the flipkart.com website, in the background what happens is some programs are getting executed. You create a shopping cart, you add an item to the shopping cart, you try to make a payment. There are lots of communication that's happening between the database and your programs. For example, it want to get the details of a product which is stored in the database. It want to know the total price of the items in the shopping cart. Then it want to know which payment method the user are allowed to use, right? There are a lot of data your programs want to know, which are stored inside a database. So we will talk about that. So you need a database, you need the program, you need their dependencies, you need a lot of HTML, CSS, and images that you want to be displayed on the user browser. Then this whole application you want to run inside a server machine, right? A Linux machine such as an AWS machine. So you can, AWS is only one of the cloud computing provider. Just like AWS, there is Google Cloud, there is Microsoft Azure, there are other cloud computing providers. So you can get a machine, a server machine from one of them. You can run this web application inside that machine. And also inside the same machine, you should run some web server software. And what this web server software does is it will act like an intermediator to the client, which means a browser, and this machine, the web server. So a web server software will run inside the server machine. What it does is it will listen for the connections coming from the browser, and if there are any connection coming, right, every time you browse for a website, and when you click on some button, what actually your browser does is the browser will send a request to the server, and server will act accordingly. It will run some program, it will take the particular HTML or CSS file or image, and finally it will give a response to the browser. And that is when the change happens. For example, in the browser you click on add an item to the shopping cart, you selected one item, then you clicked on the button add to shopping cart. Then what happens is browser would send a request to the server, and the server will execute the respective program. What this program does is it will connect to the database, get the details of the product, and then add the product into the database. Also, an image of the product would also be sent back to the browser, or that is when you will see the product got added into the shopping cart. Of course, you don't bother about any of these things. What happens inside the server is not something that you bother when you browse a website, but remember, these many things happens in the background. Got it? Okay. So we will talk about a sample web application. We will not develop an application from our side. I told you that is something your development team do the job. These programs are written by the development team in your company. Your role is different, but nowadays there are companies, developers act like DevOps engineers, but it's a rare position, but it is there. But we don't focus much on the development part, right? We will be always focusing on the DevOps side. So if we have a web application, we will talk about how we can serve this web application, how we can run this web application on an AWS server, AWS EC2 machine, the Ubuntu server that you created. Inside that machine, we will run a web application, we will run a web server software, we will set up a database, we will connect our web application to the database, and we will make this server a web server listening for the connections coming from the HTTP client, such as a browser. A browser can browse for the IP address of your machine, right? If anybody in the world, right? What is IP address? I hope you have an idea about IP address. IP address is used for communication, or you can say IP address is the address of a machine. Anyone who want to connect to a machine, they can connect to the IP address of the machine. The IP address always points to the correct machine, right? That is the significance of an IP. The significance of a public IP is, let's say you are from your home and you wanted to connect to your AWS machine. Assume you wanted to connect to your AWS machine using PuTTY. If it is your laptop, you know how to log into your laptop. You have the username and password. You know how to log into your laptop. You just turn on your laptop, provide the username and password, and that's it. But when you want to log into a remote machine, which is sitting somewhere on the internet, first you want to connect to that machine through the internet. There should be a connectivity, right? There is a connectivity, the internet is connected, but you must know the exact address of the machine where you want to connect. That is what a public IP address is. Your AWS machine come along with a public IP address, and that is exactly what you had used in your PuTTY when you want to log into the remote Linux machine. First, you want to put the public IP of the remote machine in PuTTY. Now your PuTTY know whom it want to connect. PuTTY try to connect to that IP. The connection will work because the internet is connected. Doesn't matter where you are sitting and doesn't matter where this machine is, it will connect, and then you provide the username and the key file to log in, right? That's how it works. So in general, a public IP is nothing but an address of a device on the internet that is for connectivity, network connectivity. We will talk about it in detail. We will talk about IP address and networking in detail in the coming classes. Today, I will focus on this web application. So anyone who want to connect to your AWS machine, they can actually browse for the public IP of the AWS machine. Anyone in the world can do that. Public IP is nothing but the address of your machine on the internet. Anyone in the world browse for the public IP of your AWS machine. The internet will connect them to your AWS machine because that public IP belongs to your AWS machine. So that's how we will do the testing, right? We will open a browser from our computers, browse for the public IP of the machine which you have set up as the web server. You should see a response coming from the web server on the browser. So first of all, let us set up the server. I'm going to use my AWS machine as the server, and inside the server I will download a web application, and this web application I will do necessary settings so that it can connect to a database. This web application also contain a number of dependencies and images, style sheets, etc., which will be printed beautifully on the website, on the browser. So let us start. We are going to use WordPress. WordPress is a web application, and that is exactly what we are going to use. We don't have to develop WordPress from scratch. It is something already developed by experts. What we are going to do is we are simply going to download it and we are going to use it. We are going to run it on our web server machine. So I created an AWS machine. I am already logged into that machine. And inside this machine, I am going to download WordPress files. I will download the zip file of WordPress, then I will extract it. First, I want to search in Google, download WordPress. It will take me to the WordPress website. And now I see this option, download WordPress 5.3.2. So either I can click on this button on the top, it will download a zip file, or I can download below here on the text, download tar.gz. It will download a tar.gz file. Both are compressed file, right? Zip, you might have already heard about zip. Tar.gz is also a very common compression used in Linux. I always prefer to use tar.gz file because tar command is available on Linux. I hope you heard about this command when you started practicing the 50 Linux commands. Those who haven't started with 50 Linux commands, please start it. And those who don't have access to the portal, please get the access as soon as possible and start reading all the documents, all the tutorials which I have uploaded there. Yeah. Under Linux Basics, there are a number of tutorials which I posted here. Just read them one by one, starting from the Linux Basics. I try to complete the Linux Basics tutorials today and tomorrow. Then you can move on to the Linux administration. And in the meantime, after you completed the 50 Linux commands, send me an email to my mail ID. My mail ID is mentioned there. So just that is how you would submit the assignment. And later on, you would see an option to submit the assignment directly from here. You don't have to send me an email, but that probably it will happen within a couple of weeks. But yeah, all the assignments are available here. Complete them and send me an email about the proof what I mentioned. And yeah, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download vectors. Click on download tar.gz file. But remember, this is not what I want. Right now I am downloading vectors to my laptop. Definitely it is not the laptop where I want to download vectors. I just want to get the link address. What I do is in my laptop on the downloads page of my browser, I can see vectors being downloaded. I can right click and copy the link address. Basically, I want to know what is the download link for vectors. I got it. Now I will go to the machine. This is my AWS machine. In Linux, there is a command called wget. Wget space the URL. If you want to download anything from internet, you just use the wget command in the Linux machine to download it. So this is the command I should use to download the file to my Linux machine, because I don't have any browser in the Linux machine. Browser is in my laptop. Browser download files to my laptop, not to the AWS machine. So run the command wget. You will see WordPress compressed file is getting downloaded. This is like a zip file. And do you know what is the command to extract a tar.gz file?
Can we use unzip?
We can use the command tar. We can use the command. Mahipal, I already have given you access. Mahipal, you already have access both the portal and the videos. Just check that.
And I don't have access, Basil. This is Vamsi.
Vamsi, for you, who is the contact person?
Samsura.
Basil?
Okay, I'm not sure. Can you just talk to him today? Because I have.
Yeah, I told him today, like I still didn't get the access. And today morning also, I told him that I still didn't get the access.
Okay, because I don't know this guy directly. Maybe he is a contact of my contact. Just remind him once again. Ask him to ping me with your mail ID. Then I will take care.
Sure.
Basil, I also checked. I also spoke to one of
No, you
to my
already have
contact,
access, Mahipal.
but somehow I'm on Ecuador, but I don't see any courses or anything.
Okay, maybe I
I'm
will.
over there right now as well.
Video, you have access, right?
Sorry?
You are able to access the Google Drive, right?
Yeah, Google Drive. Yes, I'll be
I
able
got
to
it.
access.
I got
But
it.
the
I will check this.
Ecuador. Yeah, thank you.
Same for me, Basil.
Akash, who is your contact person, Akash?
Yeah, I guess Santosh.
Okay, and I just talked to him, I think. Did you already
Think,
talk to him?
yeah, I spoke to him. He told,
Okay,
I don't know when. Yeah.
I will check that. I'll check with him.
Hi Basil,
Yes.
do we need to use the same URL for Windows machine as well? wget.
Yes. It's not Windows. I mean, yeah. We both are actually working on Linux.
Okay, all right.
So,
Basil, by default, wget will be installed on Linux.
come again.
By default, wget will be already there in
Yes,
Linux
it will
machine,
be
or do we have to download the package?
it will be already there.
Okay.
Even if you have to, you can all you can do is you can search in Google wget Ubuntu package. You search something like this in Google, you will get the exact package name. So if you find an error when you try to run the command wget, let's say it is throwing you an error saying that there is no such command wget, what you can do is you can just search in Google wget Ubuntu package. Then you would get the package name. First you will run this command apt-get update. Then you will run this command apt-get install wget.
And also to the people like me, like who are using VMware, yesterday I ran into an issue, right? I told you regarding the proxy issue, the same server unknown host.
Mhm.
All you have to do is under etc apt config, you have to update the proxy if you are using proxy.
Right. Yes.
So now I will be able to do everything now, like just you guys.
Cool. Perfect. But create the AWS account anyway. We are going to use it.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I mean, all my accounts, I have like bunch of AWS accounts already 1 year past, so
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
like I'm trying to figure out new one.
Mm. Okay. Cool. So yeah. So what I did is I have downloaded vectors using the wget command, and I'm going to extract it. Vamshi, I got his confirmation. I will do it today after the class.
All right, thank you.
Can you also send me your mail ID, Vamshi? Okay.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay, guys. So let us continue in the chat. I already downloaded the file WordPress, and it is a compressed file. tar.gz is a type of compression in Linux, and if you want to extract any file which end with tar.gz, the command would be tar-xzvf space name of the file that you want to extract, tar space hyphen xzvf. These are options of the tar command. Run this command, then what happens is it get extracted. The file get extracted, and you type the ls command. You can see the extracted folder WordPress, and if you go inside the WordPress folder, it is exactly what you see. You would see lots of PHP programs, right? All those files which end with .php, these are different PHP programs available within this web application. WordPress is a free web application. Anyone in the world can download it and use it. WordPress contains lots of PHP programs, and if you go inside this particular folder, you would find lots of images, style sheets, etc. If you go into this particular folder, you would see lots of dependencies the program depends on. So like that, there are lots of things inside the WordPress folder that we just extracted, and this is how a typical web application look like. It would contain programs, dependencies, and lots of images, style sheets, etc. And WordPress in particular, it is written in PHP programming language, but there are other programming languages also. There is Java, there is Python, right? Any web application that you want to develop, it can be developed in any programming language. In this particular case, the web application that we are using, WordPress, it is developed in PHP programming language. But I'm just saying it can be anything else. All right. So I have the web application, and now my web application want to connect to a database. There is no database. Database is something which I have to set up myself. So I have a Linux machine. In the Linux machine, I have downloaded vectors to a specific folder, and now I want to create one database, because any data that WordPress want to save, I want the data to be saved inside a database. And database is designed that way to store any data. It always connect to a database, a MySQL database. There are different database technologies available. MySQL is one of the very commonly used database engine. It's a free software, right? You can install it on your Linux machine. Then you can create MySQL databases. It's a database engine, just like MS SQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle DB, right? There are different database engines available. MySQL is a free software that anyone can install and use. So my plan is I will install MySQL in my AWS machine, the same machine I will use. I'll install MySQL. Then I will create a MySQL database. Then I will tell the WordPress how it can communicate to the database. When WordPress want to communicate to a database, it want to use the name of the database. It also want to use a username and password. So these credentials I will give it to WordPress, and then WordPress can connect to the database using these credentials. So I will repeat once again what I am going to do. I have my AWS machine. I already downloaded WordPress and extracted it. Now I want to first install MySQL. After installing MySQL, I want to create a database. Along with the database, I also want to create a user and a password to the database so that WordPress can connect to the database using the name of the database, username and password which I have created for this database. And then I will give these credentials to WordPress. WordPress will use these credentials whenever it wants to connect to the database. So let us do that. First, I will install MySQL. Then I will create a user, password, and a database. So as I told you, if you want to install any software in your Ubuntu operating system, what do? You will use the apt-get install command, right? First, you will search in Google what is the exact package name. I would search in Google MySQL Ubuntu package. I want to know what is the exact Ubuntu package for MySQL. So run this command MySQL Ubuntu package. Then it would tell you it is MySQL server. The package is MySQL server. This is what I want to install. So I told you it's a good idea that you run the apt-get update command first before installing any software. Then you can run apt-get install command. Then you specify the name of the package that you want to install. The name of the package you have already got it from Google. It's MySQL server. Always remember, you and me, we both are working on Linux. We are not working on our laptops. So whatever command I run, same command will work from your side, right? Do you want to continue? It will ask you, give Y for yes, then press enter. It will download all the dependency. I mean, it will install MySQL. That's what apt-get install command will do. In order to create a new database, I need MySQL to be installed. That's what I am doing. Alright, so it is done. MySQL server got installed in my AWS machine. Now it is time to create a new database. So if I want to do any kind of MySQL operation, first I want to log in to the MySQL command line. This is the command you can execute to log into the MySQL command line. It's called an SQL command line. I want to connect to that SQL command line. Simply run this command MySQL and that's it. You will get connected to an SQL command line. And this is where you will run the SQL queries. If you want to create a database, there's a query called create database. Or if you want to create a new user, there's a query for that. And inside one database, you would find multiple tables. If you want to create a table, you want to insert a row into the table, right? A table is nothing but it contains rows and columns. Columns are nothing but it's called attributes, and rows are nothing but records that you want to store inside the database. I will show you. I mean, think about a Flipkart company. They have a database where they are storing all the data. They may have one table called customers, another table called orders, another table called products, right? One database can contain different table, and inside the table, this is how the data is stored. It contains a number of rows, and each row is a data. Each row that you insert into this table, it is a new customer. Flipkart have many customers, right? So Flipkart want to store lots of data, their name, their email ID, their phone number, their primary phone number, secondary phone number, their shipping address, billing address, the credit card details, and right, like that, there are a number of data that Flipkart want to store for the customers, which is called an attribute of the table. Name is one attribute, first name, last name, phone number, mail ID, secondary phone number, shipping address, billing address, credit card number. So like that, there are a lot of columns, and any row that you insert into this table is a new customer. So basic work is my phone number, right? I am one customer. Then the next case, so like that, there can be millions of customers for Flipkart company. So all the customer data are inside this table as a new row. Similarly, the order history, the order ID, the order date, then the right when the order was delivered, the delivery date, shipping date, which customer ordered it, what is the mail ID of the customer. So everything you put inside another table called, let's say, order. Create a table called order, create another table called customer, then create another table called products. Like that, one database can actually contain a number of tables, and it is inside the table MySQL will store the data. So first, for WordPress also, I mean, it is the same case. There would be one database that I want to create and a number of tables. I will not create the tables. I will simply create the database. I will let WordPress create the table for me. So I will create a WordPress database, and I will create a database. I will create a user and password. Then I will pass these credentials to WordPress, and then WordPress takes care of the rest. Any data which WordPress want to store, it will store inside the database. WordPress has lots of PHP program, which who does that? Storing data into the database or reading data from the database. Everything is done by WordPress, not me. My responsibility is to create a database, a user, and a password. I'm going to do that.
Basil, Pawan here. I have a quick question. So, what about the different tables that has to be populated in the SQL database, and what about the data that needs to go into the MySQL database actually?
It will be done by WordPress.
Okay.
I'm not doing it. It would be done
Okay.
automatically by WordPress when I set up WordPress.
Sure. Thank you.
So the application, WordPress application, has lots of PHP program, and all these PHP program continuously communicate with the database, read some data from it or write some data to it. Everything is done by these programs. So it would be in real time when in a browser somebody click on a button, somebody browse your WordPress website, and on the browser they click on some button, they want to read a page. They click on a button and the page will open in their browser. So what actually happens on the server is, assume you have the server. This is your AWS machine which you are setting up with WordPress. You have the WordPress files already. Now you are setting up the database, and WordPress will interact with the database based on the request coming from the browser. So there is a browser which is requesting for your website. Somebody browse for the public IP of your AWS machine. A web server running inside your AWS machine will give them the web page. They click on a button in your website, open a page. Then probably what happens is a program will execute. The program will connect to the database. It will read from the database the page. It will read from the database. Then it is that page web server will serve it to people, and then the page. So every time the user click on the link, the page will open for them. Maybe the page is fetched from a database by a PHP program, served by a web server, and all these things are happening on the server side every time you click on a button on your browser. So this is exactly what we are setting up. Database is already getting created. WordPress will use the database, lots of PHP program. It will continuously communicate to the database to make things happen. So I'm going to create a new database. Create database. Then you can give some any name. Let's say WPDB. WPDB is the name of the database that I am creating. Database got created. This is the query, SQL query to create a new database. Now I want to create a user and a password. The command is grant all privileges on. You specify the name of the database dot star to name of the user @ localhost. I'll talk about it. Identified by. Now you specify a password. So what this query does is, it will create a user called WP user and password DevOps 12345, and that user with this password get full permission, all privileges on this particular database WPDB dot star. Star means all. So within the WPDB database, every table, right now there are no tables. It is a empty database which I just created. But even for future also, this user get full access to the database and all its content. Every table also the user get full access to. So run this query. Then what happened is, a user with this password got created and he have full permission on this particular database. And who will be connecting to the database? Yeah, I can connect to database by running this SQL queries myself. That is one option. But in real time, who would be the one connect to the database? It's WordPress. It is the WordPress who want to connect to the database. So now I have an AWS machine. I created a database, and this database has a user and a password. WordPress running on my same AWS machine, it will connect to this database. It want to know which database, name of the database, the user and password that you just created, WP user DevOps 12345. It also want to know where the database is located. Do you know where the database is located? You know that it is the same AWS machine. You downloaded WordPress and you have created database. If it is same machine, You can refer them like localhost. And this is nothing specific to AWS or nothing specific to your Linux machine, nothing specific to WordPress. Localhost is a networking name. It has only one meaning in the whole world. It means the same machine. You can try connecting from your laptop. From your laptop, you can run the command ping localhost. Actually, any connection to the localhost, you are connecting to the same machine. You are connecting to your laptop itself. From an AWS machine, you try to connect to localhost. You're actually connecting to the same machine itself. So localhost in terms of networking, localhost has only one meaning. It means the same machine. And it is true. Globally, it is true. So in my case, I am creating the database. I am setting up the WordPress. How they can communicate when you want to SSH to the remote AWS machine, you have to use the IP address. But when you want to connect to the same machine, you can use the term localhost instead of using the IP address. Okay, that is what indicated by localhost. Here I am mentioning the same machine is going to connect to the SQL command line. Even the same thing I will tell to WordPress. WordPress, if it want to connect to the database, connect to the same machine, and these are the credentials. So localhost has only one meaning. It means the same machine. In our case, yes, both WordPress and MySQL are going to run on the same AWS machine. Yes, it can be on different machines if you choose to. You can create one AWS machine where you will set up WordPress. You can create one more AWS machine where you can set up database. In that case, they would be using IP address for the communication. But in this particular case, they can use the name localhost instead of IP address because they are on the same machine. That's right. Okay, so if you want to come out of the SQL command line, you can run this command quit. Run the command quit. Because I am done. I created the database, I created the user, and I have created the password. I am done with it. I can come out of the command line. Now it is time to set up WordPress with these credentials.
Basil,
Yeah,
yeah, sorry, I cannot create username. It is showing an error. Can you please check the chat once? I sent you the message error which I'm getting.
it is a syntax error actually. Privileges, the spelling is wrong. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah. So what I'm going to do now is my database is ready and it is time to set up WordPress. I want to tell WordPress, Praveen, can you mute yourself? Thank you. Now it is time to tell WordPress what are my credentials, what is the name of the database, what is the user, and what is the password. So WordPress is configured in such a way that there is a file called wp-config. The actual file name is wp-config.php, but by default there is no such file. But there is a file called wp-config sample.php. So I will just rename the file to wp-config.php. Sorry. There's already a file called there is already a file called wp-config sample.php. If you type the ls command, you can see that file, but I want the file name to be wp-config.php. This is the default WordPress configuration file. Run this command. Now you type ls, you can see wp-config.php. Okay, this is the file where you should put the database credentials. Veterans want to know what are the credentials it can use to connect to the database. Open this file. Inside this file, you will specify the database credentials. Open it in a nano editor. Replace the DB name with the actual database name. What is that? WPDB. Replace the username with the actual user. What is that? WP user. Replace the password with the actual password. It is DevOps 12345. So we created a database, a user and password. Those credentials we are updating here, DevOps on that, right? Then the host name is nothing but localhost. So these are the credentials that veterans need to know in order to connect to the MySQL database. Let me save this file. Now veterans know how it can connect to a database. There are different PHP programs. Whenever these programs get executed, they will get the database credentials from this file. Then it will use those credentials when they want to connect to the database. That's how it works. Okay, cool. So we have set up everything. But actually not everything. There is one problem. If a PHP program want to connect to the MySQL database, you need some module. The PHP by default, it is not capable to connect to a MySQL database. Right? PHP programs by default, they are not capable to connect to a MySQL database. If you want that to happen, you should install some MySQL module on top of PHP. But we will see. We will get an error, then we will troubleshoot that problem. Now let us not worry about it. We will. Okay, so that's our WordPress is ready to serve to the people. You can take a short break of 5 minutes and we will continue after 5 minutes. All right. Take a short break of 5 minutes. We will continue in 5 minutes and then we will see how we can serve this web application to the people browser. So now we have set up everything. Now it is time to serve this application to people from their browser all over the world. When they browse, if their browser connect to your AWS machine, you want to run a web server software in your AWS machine which will serve this application to people. So to be precise, this is your AWS machine. You have downloaded the WordPress files which contains PHP programs, it contains HTML files, style sheets and everything. You then created a database. Your WordPress programs connect to the database. And there must be a web server which should be installed on the same machine, which will listen for the connections coming from the browser, or you can call it the HTTP client. Then based on the request, it will execute the program. Sorry. And send a response to the client. So there are different web server software available today. One popular one is Apache. The most commonly used web server today is it's Apache web server. We are going to install Apache. Apache is a web server which listens on any connection coming on port 80. 80 is the default HTTP port when you browse for a website. Your browser connects to the port 80 of the remote machine. Then the software which listens on port 80 can see the connection coming. Then it will run the files or take the files and give a response to the browser accordingly. That's what Apache do. That's what a web server will do. So I will tell you how exactly a web server will work. A web server, once you installed on a Linux machine, Linux or Windows machine, it will listen on port 80 for any connection coming from the HTTP clients, such as browser. And whenever it finds a connection, it will go to a specific folder. By default, the folder is var www html. This is the default folder of Apache where the web application file has to be saved. So assume you copied all your WordPress files into this folder var www html because that is the default folder Apache will look for. So whenever a connection arrives at port 80, Apache will look into the URL and then it would start serving the files from this particular folder var www html. So you should place all your WordPress files inside this particular folder. Then Apache will take those files and serve it to the people. And internally the programs connect to the database. We already provided all the credentials. How it can connect to the database, that is already done. So all I need to do is first install Apache. Then I must start the Apache service so that it will listen on port 80. Then I should copy all my WordPress files into the root folder of Apache, which is nothing but var www html. So let me do that. First, I will install Apache. How do you install Apache? How do you install any software in Linux? You just search in Google Apache Ubuntu package. Then the package name is Apache 2. So run this command apt-get install Apache 2. Then what happens is Apache and all its dependencies get installed. After installing Apache, you have to start the Apache service. The command is service Apache to start. Run this command and Apache service will get started. Now it is time you will go to the folder var www html. This is the default folder of Apache. Apache will always serve from this folder. If you want your Apache to serve WordPress files should be kept inside this particular folder. There's already one file called index.html. I will delete that one. Now the folder is empty. I want to copy. Okay, I can simply use the file name if I am already in the current folder. Did you know that? I hope I told you. If you are already on a specific folder, then you don't need to specify the complete path. The actual index.html path is /var/www/html/index.html. But I can simply refer the file simply using the file name because I am already inside var www.html folder. I want to open a file in a nano editor. I can run this command, let's say test.html. Then I can add some content. Do you know where this file get created? The file get created in my present working folder. I type the ls command. I don't need to type ls space var www.html because I am already inside var www.html. So if you don't specify a path, then it will take your present working directory. So don't get confused. Most of the time, I'm simply using the file name. I'm not using the complete path. Sometimes I'm right. It's because I already have a path, my pwd. By default, all Linux commands will take that path. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, cool. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to copy all WordPress files into this folder. Where the WordPress files are right now, I downloaded WordPress into /root. So this is where the WordPress files are. The location is /root/WordPress. So I want to first copy all these files into the var www.html folder. Right now they are inside /root/WordPress. I can use the mv command to relocate them. /root/WordPress. Start means everything. Within this folder, everything I want to copy into the destination. What is that? var www.html. So you can run this particular command. What that means is the content of this particular folder completely get relocated to the new folder var www.html. Or I can simply put star. Why I am putting star? Because I am already inside /root/WordPress. In that case, I don't need to specify the complete path. I can simply put star. Star means all the files in my present working directory. I want them to be moved into the folder var www.html. That's it. I'm done. Now go to the folder var www.html. Type the ls command. You can see every file has come here, or ls-a to see even the hidden files. Okay, fine. So all looking good, right? Now anyone browse for the IP address of my AWS machine, Apache will see the connection. Apache will execute the WordPress files. Let us see. So I'll just summarize once again what I did. I have my AWS machine. First, I downloaded the WordPress files. Then I have created the database. Then I told WordPress how it can connect to the database. Now I installed Apache web server, and now Apache listen on port 80. So any connection, anyone in the world who browse for the public IP of this machine, right? The browser will connect to this machine on port 80. 80 is the standard HTTP port, default HTTP port. And Apache will see the connection coming on port 80. What Apache does is it will execute the WordPress files which are located in the var www.html folder, and it will give a response. But actually there is one problem. Since it is an AWS machine, it won't allow you to connect on port 80 due to some security reason. One second.
Hi, Basil.
Yeah.
Basil, this is a class for us, no?
No, but for you today there is no class. Sorry.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
So Basil, we don't have class today.
No, I didn't. You don't have class today.
So when is the next class?
Monday.
Monday, right? Monday IST. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool. So, right, I'm going to open port 80 because AWS does not allow the people to connect on port 80 by default. I'm going to do that. Guys, give me 2 minutes. I need 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Sorry for that. So the first thing that I have to do is AWS does not allow port 80 by default. I want to request AWS to allow connection to port 80. I will show you how to do that. Then only people can browse for the IP address of my machine. They could connect to my AWS machine. By default, AWS block those connections. So I will go to my AWS account. This is how you do it. Click on the machine where you are running Apache and WordPress. Scroll towards the right. You would see something called security groups. Click on security group. In this page, click on the inbound tab. Click on the edit button. Add rule. Select HTTP from the drop down. Click on save. So what I just did is I asked AWS to allow port 80 connection to my AWS machine. Now people all over the world, they can browse for this IP. Either they can browse for the IP or they can browse for this DNS name. Both of them will work. So let us browse for the IP. And remember, this browser is in Bangalore, I mean in a remote place. From this browser, I am trying to connect to a machine which is in US. Right? This is a machine in US, and inside this machine, I already installed Apache. I have set up WordPress. Everything is done. So I browse for this IP address. I was expecting to see a beautiful website. That's what WordPress is. But there's a problem we have. By default, Apache will be serving. There are many PHP programs, right? Inside the www.html folder, there are many PHP programs. By default, it is index.php file. Apache will serve it to people. But unfortunately, it is simply printing me the content of this file rather than executing this file and giving me a web page. Apache is just printing the content of this file. I mean, you can create your own file if you want. What Apache simply does is it will print that content. Say test files. I have a file called test.html which I created in the www.html folder. Then if people browse for /test.html, then I would see the content of that particular file. This is a test file, something like that. If I browse for index.html, index.php, this is the default Apache file. So it would print me the content of that file. Actually, what I am expecting is Apache will execute this program and print me the result of this program. Actually, Apache is not capable by default. By default, Apache is not capable to execute a PHP program. So the reason is some modules are missing from Apache. The default Apache installation is not capable to run PHP programs. If Apache was capable, it would execute this file and it would print me a web page. So
No, this is
yes,
is it, because we have removed the index.php file.
if you remove it, we won't be able to see it. The index.php file exists in the var www.html folder of Apache. That is why we are able to see this page. If you delete this file, then it would throw you an error saying that file not found. So right now I browse for test.html. I can see the web page, whatever content of test.html is. If I delete the file test.html, then I would see an error. It would say test.html is not found on the server. So the file should be present. So by default, the file is index.php. If you put it or not, by default, Apache will take the index.php file, but it is simply printing the content. I want my Apache to execute the program. For that, you must install some PHP module on top of Apache. So I search in Google for the Ubuntu package. Basically, the module is missing. PHP module is missing from Apache. I'm going to install the PHP module on top of Apache so that Apache become capable to execute PHP programs. First, I want to know what is the Ubuntu package. So I search in Google PHP module for Apache Ubuntu package. It would give me the package that I want to install. So let me install this package and that's it. After installing this particular package, which is nothing but the PHP module for Apache, now Apache become capable to run PHP programs. Yes, you must restart Apache after installing a module. You must restart Apache. Apache got restarted. Now it is time you browse for this IP address again. Okay, something happened, but I'm not still seeing the WordPress page. I'm actually seeing some error. Some another error has come. This time Apache is executing the PHP program. That's why I see this page. But there is some error coming from the PHP. It says your PHP installation appears to be missing the MySQL extension. So inside your server where you are running WordPress, PHP programs are unable to connect to the MySQL database because the MySQL extension is missing. So you must install the MySQL extension. So I would search in Google MySQL extension for PHP. What is the Ubuntu package? It would give me the exact package name that I want to install. Right, you can see the package name is PHP MySQL. Right, PHP MySQL is the package name that I want to install. I'm going to do that. This is a PHP module which make PHP capable to connect to a MySQL database. That's what this will do. PHP MySQL is the name of the package that you want to install. And after installing this, you must restart Apache. As I told you, Apache is not aware of these changes. To make Apache aware, you must restart Apache. This is the command to restart Apache. And now Apache is capable. Your PHP is capable to connect to MySQL database. Let's take a look. Let me refresh this page. First time when you browse, it will ask you for some details, the name of your website, the username and password. You can give some username and password using which you can administer your website. Provide a mail ID and that's it. Click on install WordPress and this time WordPress will create all the necessary database tables and it will set up your website. It will also create necessary database tables. So the initial settings would happen. Click on install WordPress and that's it. your website become ready. Now anyone who browse for your website, they can see a beautiful website, a good looking website, right? It has some page and everything. And you can log into your website and administer your website if you want to add a new blog or new page into your website. Fortunately, you don't have to do any kind of coding or writing HTML. WordPress allow you to do it automatically. So let us see how it can be done. The IP address /wp admin. First, you browse for this URL, your website /wp admin. Then it will ask you to log in. I'm going to log in. Username is Basil. Password is DevOps12345. Whatever credentials which you created at the time of WordPress installation, click on login button, and that's it. Now I am on an admin dashboard. If I want to add any new page to my website, or if I want to change the style of the website, everything can be done from here. No need to do any kind of coding. For example, I want to add a new post. I can go to the post, click on add new, then I can add a new post. For example, my travel experiences. I'm just then adding something. This is a sample page. And if I want to make one of them bold, I can just select bold, or I want to make some italics, or I want to make it heading, right? Anything that I want to do, I can do. I want to upload an image, I can click here and upload an image, right? All these things would appear on my website, and when you are done with it, just click on publish button 2 times, and that's it. Now your website contain the new page that you created, right? Anyone in the world can see it. Anyone who can type, this is a public IP. Anyone in the world can browse it. Public IP always connects to the right machine, and the machine would serve this page to people. Apache will serve this page to people. This is nothing but a WordPress page, and probably this page is stored inside a database. Doesn't matter. The PHP programs will get the data from the database and print it to you. So this is how a web application look like, and this is how we can run a web application. WordPress is just a sample web application used by bloggers, the people who want to run some blog and all. This is a good application. You can use it. You don't have to develop everything from scratch. You can just use WordPress, and many people use it for running their front page website also. It's a good one. It's a good framework. But our intention is not to learn WordPress. Our intention is to have an idea what is a web application. Your company would have developed their own web application. It can be in a different programming language than PHP. WordPress is written in PHP programming language, but right, there can be other applications written in Java, other applications written in Python. Doesn't really matter. Different companies develop different web applications written in different programming languages. Whatever it is, these are the concept. You need a web server. The application contains lots of program. Program depends on a number of dependencies. Then there can be a number of images, style sheets which make the website look beautiful. Then there must be a database where you want to store the data. A web server like Apache should be serving the application to people, to the browser. So all the things run on the server. The browser, that means HTTP client, will connect to the server and work on the web application. So this is the common structure of a web application. So it is important that you understand this. We are going to talk about web applications, databases, right? Many things in the coming classes. So just do it from your side, and also start doing some start with the Linux administration session in the basil.edu portal. Read the documentation and start with the assignments. So any questions? So this weekend is important. Those who haven't finished the 50 commands, finish them first, then finish all the documents, all the tutorials under Linux basics. Then you move on to the Linux administration session. And from Monday, we would get started with some Docker basics. We will learn how you put the web application inside a Docker container and run it. But again, make sure that today's class, if you need to watch the recorded video once again, they are available on the Google Drive. I will upload it in about I think 3-4 hours. It will be available in the drive. Expected delay, actually I am traveling today. I have to upload it on the fly. So, just expected delay today for the video to get uploaded, and watch it again and practice everything what we did today yourself. Always try to focus on the web application perspective rather than learning about WordPress. It is not important. Just try to understand what are the components of a web application. And we are going to use whatever we discussed today. Most of them we are going to use continuously in the upcoming classes also. All right. So any questions?
Basil, this we have access through the public IP, right?
Correct. And the advantage with public IP is anyone in the world can browse for it. That connection will come to my AWS server. That is the advantage.
But public IP will be changed every time.
When you stop and start a machine, yes, it will change. Generally, you will run it on a website. We will talk about how to register a website and all. We will talk about networking part in the coming classes. But yeah, what you said is right. The public IP, if it change, you should browse for the new IP.
Basil, as you said, to understand the components of a web service, what do you mean by that?
The programs, the dependencies, images, style sheets, database, a web server, then a HTTP client such as browser. So all these things are included in a web application. So that's what I said. Just make sure that you understand that concept. So all these things together, it's called a web application. Anyone else? Any questions? Okay. So watch the video once again if required, and start with all the tutorials. Just spend today and tomorrow reading these tutorials and completing assignment, because from Monday we are moving on to advanced training. Thank you all. And from Monday we are actually starting with DevOps, basics of DevOps. Yeah, thank you all. See you on Monday. That means Sunday evening for US guys. Bye.
Okay, bye, Basil. Thank you.